If you've ever told yourself, I'll start in January, then this live is for you. Because that sentence might be the reason that you're still stuck. By the end of today's workshop, you'll learn why waiting for January is keeping you stuck, how starting now changes your identity, and exactly how to begin today without burning out. I'm Daniel James, a mindset coach and author of The Identity Wheel. And before we go into the main things and main topics I want to talk about today, I want to just sort of tap into this January lie that we all seem to have been sold. And for me, the biggest lie around January is almost this comfort that comes from procrastination. And we have this thing that's like a fresh start trap. And it's, I'll start on Monday. Or first of the month, that's when things are going to change. Or how about new year, new me? And all of these things sort of insinuate that in the future, we are going to have a clean slate. And I feel like January is one of the biggest culprits of this. We're kind of waiting and kicking this new version of us into a new year. But actually, what we're doing is we're delaying action. By using this of, I'll wait till Monday, I'll wait till January, I'll wait till the new year, whatever it is, we are delaying taking action. But we sometimes convince ourselves that what we're doing is we're preparing. I'm preparing for the right time. I'm just getting all the information. I'm making sure I understand everything. I'm preparing. But we're not. We're practicing avoidance. We're practicing avoiding the one thing that's going to actually help us move towards that thing we claim we want, which is taking action. And more importantly, what we're doing is we're identifying as somebody who waits. I am someone that waits. I wait for the perfect opportunity. I wait for a clean slate. I wait for the start of the new week. And that's not necessarily what we want for ourselves. And the second thing when it comes to this sort of January lie that we're told, or that we tell ourselves essentially, it's not necessarily lies we're told about January, it's lies that we tell ourselves, is that the longer we wait, what we end up doing is we put so much pressure on January. Rather than thinking about it now with 2 weeks until the new year, we wait until January. But then January has to be perfect. There's so much pressure on January. And then we rock up to January the 1st with 2 weeks of practiced procrastination, impossible expectations, and excuses. Excuses of all the reasons why we couldn't start earlier. And we carry that into January the 1st, and then we expect things to change. And then we wonder why we get stuck. And we wonder why things don't go our way. Because we all know the statistic about New Year's resolutions, and I can't remember off the top of my head. I probably should have done some more research before I got into this episode. But most people fall off their New Year's resolutions by the end of February. That's not a good statistic. So let's dive into the meat of this then. Let's get into the main talking points. Now, this whole thing about I'll start in January, that is implying that the world's stopping. Somehow the world is waiting. And you know what? It's all right. I'll stay as I am. I'll start again in January. But the world isn't stopping. The world isn't stopping for you to get started. The world is still moving. Things are still happening. And we're not in neutral. You as a human being are not a car. You can't go into neutral. You're either moving forwards or you're moving backwards. Because if you think you're in neutral, you're actually going backwards because the world is still moving. And we don't think of it like we think just, oh, Joe, I'll hold that here. I'll wait for January. Okay, but then you're going to be behind. And what we're doing is, most importantly, is we're training ourselves to be somebody who doesn't follow through. Because what we always do is, I'll start in January, but you said that about Monday. You said that about last week, last month. We keep saying the same things over and over again. And what we're doing is we're training ourselves. We're training ourselves not to believe ourselves. And then we wonder why we have such a bad relationship with ourselves. Well, maybe the reason that we have such a bad relationship with ourselves is because we keep on lying to ourselves. We tell ourselves we're going to do something and then we don't follow through. And is that the pattern you repeated last January and then the January before that? And are you about to do it again going into 2026? And are you just telling yourself there's somebody that waits? Because your brain doesn't distinguish between waiting for the right time and being someone who never starts. Your brain doesn't know the difference because the brain doesn't know time. So when here, waiting for the right time, when is the right time? What do you need for it to be the right time? Because there's two truths to life. Number one, life is not fair. Life has never been fair and it is never going to be fair. And number two, life is not perfect. Once again, it has never been perfect. It is never going to be perfect. So if you are waiting for things to be fair and perfect before you get started, then we're living in a dream world and we're never going to achieve anything. Because every single time we delay taking action, every single time we delay doing the things that we know we need to do to move us in whatever direction it is we want to go to, every single time we do that, we're strengthening this neural pathway. There's pathways in the brain. Just imagine them as like garden paths. And we keep walking down the same one, it gets well trod. We don't walk down the other one, it overgrows. What we're saying is that I somehow need external permission to change. I somehow need the date to be this. I need this thing outside of me to be perfect before I start. But change is an inward to outward relationship. We happen to life. Life doesn't happen to us. And although it can seem like life happens to us, yes, it absolutely does. Things do happen. But it's our response to it that makes that thing good or bad, that makes it a lesson or a failure. We can start to influence these things and we don't realize the power that we actually have. And oftentimes the hardship that we have is the meaning we attach to this thing. Again, look at different cultures. Different cultures, how they, again, celebrate death. Very, very different to other cultures. How they experience wealth, family, all of these things, very different. So they can experience the exact same thing, yet have two completely different outcomes and outlooks. But the scariest thing for me is that these pathways get stronger whether we are aware of it or not. So which path are you strengthening? Are you strengthening the path of waiting for the right time, being someone that never starts? Or are you strengthening the path of, no, I've said I'm going to do something. I've said I want this, so I'm going to go and take action. And it's, again, about imperfect action because things aren't going to be perfect. So just take that imperfect action. When I wrote the book, The Identity Wheel, I had no idea how to release a book. Never released a book or even wrote a book in my life. But I started to take imperfect action. And the beautiful thing about imperfect action is that as you're stepping into this imperfect action, you start to figure it out. Because things, people, and opportunities present themselves because you're on the right path. Or you're on a path. Because subsequently, if you're on the negative path, people, situations, and opportunities, once again, will present themselves to you. But they're not the ones that we want. But no one ever talks about identity. When it comes to starting in January, no one ever talks about identity. But who are you becoming while you wait? While you're waiting for January right now, 2 weeks, 14 days, who are you becoming in that time? Because you are becoming someone. As I said, we don't stay still. So we're moving. What direction are we moving in? Because it's very important to realize it. Are we moving in a direction that we want? Are we becoming the kind of person that we want to be? Or are we still stuck in the same routines, the same patterns, the same habits? Because every morning you have a choice. Every morning you have a choice. And every morning that you wake up and don't act, you're voting for an identity. Whereas if you started to act, you're starting to vote for a new identity because you're going against the grain. You're doing something different. You're becoming somebody different. You're becoming somebody that starts. You're becoming somebody that takes action. You're becoming somebody that does the things they say they're going to do. And that's where self-confidence comes from. The confidence in yourself to do and execute the things that you say that you are going to do. Now, there is an advantage to also starting in December. Absolutely there is. We're going to talk about this, again, an advantage to starting in January. So I will talk about that at the end because I think it's important to touch on that. But I want to get you going. I want to get you started. I don't want you waiting for January. I want you to build the momentum before January so you can ride on that wave. But again, News resolutions, the main one is the fitness side of stuff. And we all know that gyms in December typically are at 30, 40% capacity. Most people are partying, they're staying at home, mince pie season, it's cold, it's wet, it's windy, yes. But we then also know that in January, they seem to get up to about 200% capacity. So wouldn't it be better, especially if you're somebody that gets a bit nervous and anxious around going to the gym, wouldn't it be better if you went to the gym and was a little bit more quiet? Well, again, you now have a 2-week period where it's going to be a little bit more quiet than it will be in 2 weeks' time. So it gives you a bit more an advantage. But you've still got the same coaches, the same PTs are going to be there. There's still the same courses, going to move away from fitness. All the information is there. It's ready, available for you right now. But starting earlier gives you almost a VIP pass, because you're going to get the lay of the land. You're going to get to know the coaches' names. You're going to get to know the environment. You're going to get to know all these little things. And it says something about somebody when they start in December. In the last week alone, I've had 2 new clients sign up with me for my Ascend coaching program. 2 people in December. What does that tell me? That tells me these people want to change. These people are ready to change. So as soon as I see that, straight away, I see them as, wow, like they're here. They're not waiting. They've made the decision. They're not waiting to January. They want to get going. When do you want to get started? As soon as possible. Perfect. It says something about you. And by starting in December and alleviating that pressure of January having to be perfect, we can use December as data. Because again, maybe right now, you hear this, you're like, yeah, do you know what? I'm a start. Cool. Maybe you mess up by the 20th. Literally, it's 17th right now. Maybe you mess up in 3 days' time. Okay, that's data. What went wrong? What can I do? Whereas actually, when it comes to January the 3rd, January the 5th, and then you mess up, it feels like you've ruined the resolution. It becomes this massive deal. The exact same thing has happened. One is data. It happens in December, it's data, you learn from it, you move on. What happens in January, the whole year's a write-off. I've messed up already. You've now confirmed that identity once again, that you're a failure, you can't stick to something, you're no good, you're an idiot, you're a loser. Bam, there's the year gone. Can you see the power in actually starting in December? The power of starting in December is actually gives you that leverage, it gives you that breathing space so that January does not have to be perfect. Because we make January feel like it's game over. But as soon as we make that mistake, but it's not. So which environment would you rather learn in? Would you rather learn in an environment that's got less pressure and more opportunity to navigate it, or an environment full of pressure that notoriously you've not been great in? I mean, I'd definitely pick the first one, but we don't think about it like that. So I just want to tie this into a lot of the stuff we've been speaking about recently, which is all about identity. And we've got this limiting belief trilogy that happens in December, because the 3 beliefs that I believe run in December are: I'm too busy, it's not the right time, and I deserve a break. Now, is there truth in all of these? Yes, absolutely, because when it comes to December, people are busy. Absolutely. Christmas dues, seeing friends, family, get that. But you also have been watching Netflix, more than likely. If you look at your phone, I guarantee you've got a few hours of screen time on there. And I guarantee if you look even closer, it's probably on a social media app. So yes, when we use these phrases in December, they're self-limiting beliefs. They are beliefs we're putting on ourselves. When actually, yes, you're busy. But as I just said, if you start now in December, even if you mess up, it's data. You can learn from it. You're going to be busy in January. Everyone's busy in January, but there's so much more pressure if you wait until January. And again, it's not the right time. We say it's not the right time. When has it ever been the right time? Are you expecting a sign? Are you expecting a person just to come up to you one day and say, now's the time? It's not how it works. There is never going to be a right time because, as I said, life is not fair, life is not perfect. The perfect conditions are never going to present themselves. And if they do, they will very quickly change. And then what are we going to do? And again, I deserve a break. Yes, you do. I guarantee you've been working hard, especially if you have kids, worked hard. If you've worked hard on promotion, absolutely. But what are we rewarding? What are we rewarding? Because if you do have something that you want to start working on in January, why not get started on it now? I'm not saying you have to go full hog. I'm not saying you've got to start going everything crazy, but why not make a bit of a start? Why not plan it out? Why not map it out? Why not spend some time on it? Because actually, maybe the reason why you're feeling a bit burnt out this year is because you haven't planned properly. And maybe because you haven't looked after your health. So things have been a massive struggle. Maybe you haven't looked after your finances, whatever it may be, but just start to plan things out. I'm not saying you've got to have an exact plan, but have some sort of idea. It amazes me, the people I work with, and we talk about goal setting, and they've got no plan. And the analogy I use with this is, it's like you're a boat in the sea. You've got no direction. So what happens? The sea just pulls the boat wherever the sea wants to pull it. And then we wonder why we're frustrated and not end up where we wanted to be, because we've got no idea. We don't set that intention. And again, I'm not saying you've got to have a perfect plan, but I want to go roughly in that direction. Perfect. Don't wait for January. Don't put that pressure on yourself. Just start moving now. Start planning, researching. Take that one small step and breathe. Because all of these, again, they're not facts. You do have time. There's never going to be a right time. And yes, you may deserve a break, but if you're not where you want to be, do you want to take a break, or do you actually want to keep going? Because that's something I've had to wrestle with recently, is that, again, releasing the book, I've had a big year doing all sorts of stuff. Could I justify to myself that I deserve a break? Absolutely. But I'm not where I want to be. So I'd rather take a break when I'm closer to that goal than where I am right now. And these December beliefs that we hold, they don't just randomly and miraculously disappear in January. If you have limiting beliefs, when it comes to January, they are going to reappear in another fashion. And actually, as I always say, we're creatures of patterns and habits. And if you actually look back at your life, you will notice and see patterns and habits. The problem is, we don't want to look back at the mistakes we've made because it's not very nice. But actually, all these past mistakes hold the keys for how we actually unlock this future that we want. We have to learn those lessons so we don't make the same mistakes. Because that I'm too busy becomes I'm already behind, I deserve another break, becomes I've already ruined it, because you put that pressure on yourself in January. And again, we keep thinking we're giving ourselves a rest, but actually what we're doing is we're not giving ourselves a rest. By resting in January, what we're doing is we're making things harder for ourselves in January. January is already going to be hard enough. There's going to be loads of pressure. Again, it's cold, it's dark, it's miserable. Don't add that extra pressure on yourself. But if you can just replace these excuses with, I'm someone who starts before I'm ready. Don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to start before I'm ready. I'm going to take perfectly imperfect action. That's different. And people say to me, but isn't that kind of toxic positivity? It's not toxic positivity. It's what I call identity architecture. Because for me, toxic positivity is when things are disastrous and you're trying to gaslight yourself. That's not what we're doing here. What we're doing is we're saying to ourselves, no. I know that there's never going to be a perfect time. I know things aren't going to be perfect, but I'm going to take action anyway. And that's the difference. We're changing our identity. I am somebody that takes action regardless. I'm somebody that's disciplined. Discipline being doing the things you know you need to do and you don't feel like doing it. It's a subtle identity shift. It makes such a massive difference, because when you act from this, you don't need January. You don't need Monday. You just need to get going, because you're the kind of person that gets going. You're the kind of person that takes those steps. That identity change is the thing that changes everything. And if this word identity has kind of confused you a little bit, again, my book, Identity World, goes into more detail about it. You don't need to buy the book. There's loads of podcast episodes on there. But if you're someone that likes to read and likes to go into the real details of it, pick up a copy on Amazon. There's exercise at the end of it. I want to help you make this the best year that you've ever had. Now, before I tie into things that you can do, because I want to give you a bit of a framework over the next 2 weeks of what you can do to give yourself a head start over January, I just want to talk about the positives of starting in January. And for me, the big positive in starting in January is that you get that group collective momentum, because everyone else is starting in January. You get that joint momentum, and that's great. Absolutely is. But you can still ride that wave by starting now. You just got a bit of a head start. You've got that momentum going. so that then that gives you an even bigger boost 2 weeks into your goal rather than 2 weeks in January where actually you might be on a bit of a funk. So if anything, what it's doing is it's by the time you get to the end of January, you've had 6 weeks rather than people's 4. And if I said to you, I'll give you £100 a week, well, that's the difference between £400 and £600. Bit of a difference. So again, it's just looking at it differently. It's just reframing it differently. Just seeing these next 2 weeks as, again, you don't have to go gung-ho, but you have to just start taking some sort of action, or you don't have to. It's a choice. But the more you do it, the more it's going to help you. So practical framework. So this little 14-day thing that you can do, I'll kind of split it out into a few days. Again, I want to take the pressure off you a little bit. So for the first week, it's all about clarity because we need to know where we're going. So for me, for the first 1 to 3 days, it's a bit of an identity audit. It's saying, okay, well, who were you in 2025? This year, looking back, who were you? Who were you? And then for the next 4 to 5 days, it's then saying, okay, well, what non-negotiable list, so day 4 to 5, sorry, what's your non-negotiable list? What has got to change? What's the things that have held you back this year and what has to change? What's non-negotiable? This has to change. Because if we don't recognize the roadblocks, these roadblocks are going to appear again next year. So what has to change? And then in the first week, day 6 to 7, start to write a bit of an evidence journal. Look back at your entire life and start to prove all the times you've changed, whether it's small or big. And again, jot down when you made the decision and stuck with it. Because there'll be plenty of opportunities here in your life where actually you have changed, you have created big momentum. Again, build that evidence back up. And then week 2, it's about action. So what's one habit that you can do that's going to help you with momentum? And again, it's something where you can have it as like a with coffee rule or before coffee rule, where you do this habit, this new thing that you're going to do before your morning coffee or with your morning coffee. So for me, I wanted to read more. So what did I do? I read in my office with my coffee every morning. So maybe there's something that you want to do. Maybe it's play the guitar. Maybe it's journal. Maybe it's, I don't know what it is. But what's that one habit? Can you do it with your morning coffee or before you have that morning coffee? I prefer with my morning coffee because, again, I love coffee, so it makes it more enjoyable for me. But just creating that day one and what it's going to look like sets you ahead because you've already taken action, you've already taken steps, you've already done the planning part of it. But you're actually doing it because you're not just planning, you're looking at the roadblocks and who you need to become and what you need to remove. And that's the difference. Because you've got 2 choices right now. Choice 1 is that you wait. January 1st comes along, you're overwhelmed, you're competing with everyone else, and you already feel like you're behind. Or option 2 is you start today, and January 1st, you're refined, you're confident, and you're already winning because you've got an action plan. But I just want to leave you with this. Remember that January the 1st isn't a starting line. It's a checkpoint. The race has already begun. The question is, are you running or are you still tying your shoes? If you've taken any value from today, don't forget to share it with a friend. I will see you next week. Until next time, take it easy.